Well, greetings, gamers. This is Dr. Eileen, the Gaming Doc, and this is your place and your space to hang out, to chat, to chill, to share a joke, to share a pun, to relax, to take a moment, to take a breath, to take a break, because we all do need a break every once in a while. Sometimes we need a break from what's going on inside of our own brains. And we've already got right out of the gate, speaking of puns, we have the moderator supreme, JJ the Bunny in the house, aka Funny Bunny, aka Punny Bunny, aka Hugs Bunny, aka possibly the Jackalope, aka Techie Bunny, and an all-around good egg, an amazing person who comes and hangs out and helps out, even though he's having lunch, which I hope it's a good lunch. And we've got Sheila Marcel! Yay! Sheila Marcel in the house, the amazing, the queen of diamond painting, who you seriously need to check onto that name and go and check out her stream, because she does all kinds of amazing, wonderful stuff like Stardew Valley and Don't Starve. And she also, like I said, you want to check out diamond painting. Don't know what it is? You will find out. Check out there. JJ, was a good lunch? Yep. Oh, and many, many, many good lunches to you, JJ. And oh my gosh, we've got JJ the Bunny with a 7-month. Oh, and it's our anniversary. How nice. Oh, it's been this number keeps increasing. It might be broken. You know what? The fact that, we have known each other. I have had the absolute pleasure of knowing you for 7 months, and the support that you give to my channel, that is just so cool. And it means Bean Boozled beans, 3 of them. And it is so cool. And we're trying an experiment today. Okay, first off, there be the beans. And it looks like it's sriracha and cayenne, I think. Now, somebody brought up yesterday about the idea of being like lactose intolerant. Well, dang, I keep forgetting about the beans. Yep. And for those of you who don't know, who are watching, this is the summer of fun. This is also the summer of subs. So we are doing some fun stuff each month. And the fun stuff, at least for people watching, and it's not so bad for me, is June is spicy bean boozle bean month. So for every 100 bits that I get, I will eat 1 bean, and they are spicy. And for every follow, I eat 2 beans, and for every sub, I eat 3. So we're gonna try. I went and picked up some Lactaid. And so we're going to actually do an experiment and see whether my favorite heavy whipping cream, if Lactaid can actually do the same thing as the heavy whipping cream. So we are going to check. This is for you, JJ. No, I'm not hurting myself. It's all in good fun. Thank you for 7 amazing, wonderful months. And YOLO. Okay. All right. Cayenne and sriracha kind of go together. Okay. Usually, the first dose is like kind of kicks it off. But then after a while, depending on how many I end up eating, I end up with an endorphin rush. That is amazing. So, just getting over that first hill. Okay. Now, we are going to see if Lactaid can do it as well as the whipping cream. Okay, it helps a little bit. I'll have to take another couple of sips. Jason Z! Folks, welcome, welcome, welcome. The man, the myth, the amazing, amazing New Yorker who is just an awesome person who is such a dear friend and who comes in and is not taking part today. Okay. What? It's experiment day. How are you, J Stun Z? I hope everything is going well. I hope everything is going awesome. Folks, J Stun Z is a part of one of my Nameless Family. If you want to know about the Nameless Family, please check out Nameless Family, and there should be like a little section that comes up and, you know, talks about the Nameless Family. It's a wonderful, amazing community who is just absolutely awesome. Okay, we're gonna try a little more lactate. It helps. I can't say it helps as much as the whipping cream, but it helps. Need good vibes today. Every single possible good vibe to you. And Akamore, hello. It's so good to have you here, my little rising star in the Twitch universe and future filmmaker. And Bloodchard. Yes, Bloodchard in the house. The only person with an emote that is both terrifying and adorable. And, hey, every single good vibe to you, J Stun Z. Hopefully it's not because of issues with internet. Hopefully it is, well, hopefully it's just a little pump up that you need. See, if you drink something hot after drinking something spicy, there's a split second where it's like, okay, it's worse, but then it gets better. So, you know, Akamore, you're stressed as hell today. Why? Okay, so think about it. Thursday is going to be thinking about taking care of folks. Thinking about, you know, helping folks going through. Oh my gosh, your mom is in the ER. Oh, I am so sorry. Oh, dang, dude. Oh, man. Okay. Hold on. Alrighty. My mom just left an hour ago to take my sister to the ER. Oh, man. Okay, folks. All absolute kidding aside, we are lighting a candle. We are lighting a candle for everybody who is going through these hard times, and especially for people who are dealing with, you know, folks not being well and you know, having that hardness. You know, this light is going out to every single person who is having that hard time and who is really stressed, because I am totally feeling it, folks. And sometimes, you know, just lighting a candle in the darkness is one of the things that can help to turn things around. And my absolute prayers and best wishes for everybody who is going through some stuff. And we're going to place that right there. And lurking, because I'm about to mow the grass. Mwah, Papa, you go and you show that grass who's boss. But, you know, Jay, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so sorry. And Akamore, you know what, y'all, this is your place and your space. You guys can, you know, relax here. You can share about it. You don't have to share about it, but know that, you know, this is your spot and this is your time. And I am so sorry that so many of you are going through some tough stuff, and absolute best wishes to everybody. And you know, Sheila, for your sister, you know, every possible blessing, you know, and JJ, your mom. I mean, hey, you know, that's a bond between mother and son, and every wish that, you know, it's whatever is meant to go through with all of you guys, that it be as gentle as possible and that it be resolved as quickly as possible. My main actor, after I asked everyone else what roles they wanted and wrote a good amount of the script and screenplay, sent a text that said she wanted a character with minimum lines. I have to redo everything, and I feel like my brain and heart are going to explode, and I'm just mad. You know what? Oh my God. Akamore, it is, I worked for over 10 hours. Oh, sweetie, I am so sorry. And, when you put your heart and soul into something and then you have to redo it just because someone else is kind of being ignorant, it's like, hey, if you're an actor, you act. And maybe if you could find somebody else to be able to do that part, somebody else who's a little bit more willing to, but rewriting is the nature of the beast, and you're learning some very valuable lessons at a very young age. So you hang in there, sweetie. My sister's dropped from 185 to 90 pounds, and she woke up yesterday not able to feel her hands. No, that is not just anxiety, sweetie. That is not just anxiety. There's something else. That's neurological. There is a lot of stuff going on in there. And, it is, yeah. Hopefully the doctors start looking a little bit more deeply, because that is something. That is something, and it's not just being anxious. Absolute every best wish. And, and Aki, it really is. It's hard, because, people who don't understand what it means to write a script don't realize that it's not just about changing one thing, or because everything is set and everything affects something else. And people who don't have a background in that don't understand how important that each line feeds into another. So it's not just about taking out a section of dialogue. It's about, okay, how do I fill that gap and weave it back together? But you can do it, my friend. You've got this. And like I said, consider casting somebody else in the role, because if it's coming out of the gate with there being difficulties and there being challenges, you might want to consider long-term, this person may not be able to stick with it. So maybe get a backup plan. She had a bad car accident years ago, and I'm wondering if it could have been something to do with all the injuries she had then. Possibly. And Nurse Taz! Nurse Taz in the house, our wonderful Nurse Taz, who always gives me the pleasure of saying, hello, nurse. A CBC and a CMP. That's coming from someone who knows. I have to rethink the storyline. I don't have anyone else for her old role. Okay, well, then you plod through. But, you can do this, sweetie. It's welcome to the world of production and being a director and a writer and all of that stuff. But you've got the tools to be able to overcome it. You can put it together. And whatever it is you're going to create, it's going to be even better. You've got this. And, if you can write it once, you can rewrite it. But yeah, hey, Nurse Taz, how are you? I hope you're doing well. And, yeah, and thank you for the advice on what they need to do for Sheila's sister, because I'm sorry, as a doctor, it's like, I would not go with anxiety on that. Those symptoms are way more than just anxiety. I know she broke her neck and back and a giant U-shaped cut on the back of her head because she was thrown from the sunroof of her car when it flipped. And there may have been internal injuries that might not have been either detected or addressed. And so if there's some internal injuries that may have created a problem that are coming out now, as a result of scar tissue, as a result of all kinds of stuff, there's a lot that could be going on. And to just wrap it up in a package and say, oh, well, it's anxiety. Heck no. No. That does not even sound it. Really would like a white blood cell count. Exactly. I mean, at this point now where she's so malnourished she can barely walk. She can't hold down food, liquids, or meds. It really is. And, and frankly, there's like a whole bunch of stuff that they need to look into. Endocrine pancreatic insufficiency, maybe, because of an injury to the pancreas or something. Could be an issue with the liver. Could be, there is so much that could be going on here that, and none of my top thoughts would be anxiety. So, definitely Nurse Taz has, she's on the ball on that. But, both of the hospitals out here just keep telling her it's just anxiety, and so does our family doctor. No. And what you can do is, it's like, fine. Because I did this with a doctor once who was convinced that my son did not need an x-ray for a broken collarbone. And I could see that it was broken. That there was, it wasn't a big deformity, but there was a deformity. And so what I did was, I said, fine, I want a signed statement from you stating that you know for a fact that without an x-ray, that this bone is not broken, and that you are taking personal responsibility for any resulting error based on that opinion. And the doctor said, well, I'm not going to sign that. I said, why not? Well, because I don't know. And I said, well, then how about we take an x-ray and find out? It is not trying to sound cocky, but I think Texas has the best medical system. Texas has some really good medical systems, especially in the areas of cancer treatment and cancer research. There is a lot of, it's like, different areas have different specialties. It's like out here, Stanford University is probably one of the best in the country for pediatric issues, short of St. Jude Hospital. And there's also research in research facilities in Ohio that do some amazing stuff with internal medicine. So, but yeah, different places have different specialties based on what it is they deal a lot with. So, it is I told my mom to let the doctors know she isn't leaving this time until they figure out what's going on with her and help her. Absolutely. But like I said, tell them it's like, if you are certain that this is anxiety, you wouldn't mind signing a statement that you are confirming that without tests, that this is just anxiety, and that you are willing to take financial responsibility for it. So, would you like to discuss how much malpractice insurance you have? Or would you like to find out what's going on? It really is, it can be hard. Yeah, I had a doctor tell me Tuesday night not to call back. He was pissed at the hospital putting us in the middle. I told him I would take the order. He said, no. Call me if you need me. I'm a doctor. I've seen the enemy, and sometimes it is us. And it is, and I really do believe that most people go into that field with the desire and genuine desire to help, but somewhere along the line, some of them lose their humanity. They forget what it's like to be scared. They forget what it's like to have a diagnosis matter. When you diagnose something, you go home and you don't have to deal with the repercussions of it, but that person does. And yes, I understand they work a lot of hours, and yes, I understand they don't work more hours than the nursing staff. But, it's hard. And it's important that they remember their humanity, that they remember what it's like to be scared, that they remember what it's like to be scared for a loved one. And yeah, I know some fantastic doctors, and I know some not so much, in several different fields, including my own. And ultimately, it's about that person. It's about how committed they are to the promise they made to first do no harm. Osteria! Osteria! Yeah, definitely different hospitals, different places have different specialties. I've been following Russian healthcare, and they allow making synthetic viruses and bacteria there for medicine, and with Those, they can cure so many problems, and usually cheaper way too. I know it sounds bad, but the results tell quite different. Yeah, it is. There are some places and some hospitals that really focus on certain things, and they're able to make it work, and they do well at it. Had a doctor scream at a nurse because it was day 7 for him. It was day 9 for her. Okay, that. I really hate hearing, stories like that, but there are so many. I'm sitting here at home alone, just waiting by the phone to hear something. It has my anxiety up bad. I'm sorry, sweetie. Just make sure you're taking those breaths. Trust that, there's all kinds of good thoughts and good wishes going out for your sister. And those do matter. Those do make a difference. And, that we're here for you as well. And, this is your place that if you do need to, share about what's going on with that's okay. And while, yes, there are some not so great folks out there, there are some good ones who care. And my prayer is that your sister get one of those. And somebody who's going to go, okay, we're going to get this taken care of. We're going to find out what's going on. And if it means running all kinds of tests, that's what it takes. An ultrasound, an abdominal ultrasound. I know we're all hoping we just finally get some answers besides it's just her anxiety, because I know it isn't. I know it isn't too. When you have neurological symptoms that are that specific, and that progressive, it's not anxiety. I know what I'll do to de-stress. What are you gonna... Mod Stardew! Yes. Oh my God, Jay, I have to get back in there and see what you have done to Stardew. Now, if I come into your modded world, do I have access to your mods, or am I sort of outside of it? Because, I need help modding mine some more. Jay Stun Z, the Jedi Master of Stardew Valley mods. So yeah, well, I guess that just means I'll have to visit your farm and find out. It should work for you. Oh my gosh, we definitely need to do that. So, you mod away. Actually tonight I've got something going on, but tomorrow night I should be free. So maybe not accessing the mods menu, but others should. I have 28 mods in mine, but when me and Doc played, she didn't have my mods. Yeah, it's granted, I can have more confidence staring into the human brain that I know what's going on than to deal with mods and with how even game mods work. I'm really not sure. About to mow now. Wish me luck because there are holes in my backyard. Alrighty. Well, just step carefully. Show that grass who's boss. And remember to hydrate, please, sweetheart, because I know it's probably very hot outside. So make sure you're hydrating. Even if you can throw like a little bit of lemon into the water, that'll help. Just make sure you're staying hydrated because it's very, very easy to hit heat exhaustion when you're out doing something physical and you're sweating. So make sure, be very, very, very careful, Papa, okay? Well, I have like fast walking, tractor mods, and stuff like, there's tractor mods? Oh my gosh. Oh, I have the tractor mod in mine. Oh, a tractor would make things so much easier. Oh my goodness. And I look forward to visiting both your farms because then, we can hang out. And do they have the thing now where you can actually see where the other person is, like on a map or something? Because that would be tremendously helpful, especially for Jay Stun Z, who will wander off. If I bend down to pick up a parsnip, he's wandered off, and the next thing you know, he's over in the mines or something. It's not working correctly, though, so I need to figure out why. They're about the same speed as the horses. Oh, I want to get a horse in my game. Yep, it's being able to find something to focus on that allows you to step outside of the moment that you're in. And this can be a really important thing, is that if we're in a situation where there's nothing we can do, where we have no control, continuing to put energy into that feeling of helplessness doesn't help. So being able to say, okay, if I can't do something about this, let me focus on something that I can do something about. And often that is just enough of a distraction to allow your mind to move into something that, you can be productive. You got teleporting! So you could just teleport to me. Oh my gosh, that would be so much easier than chasing you around the freaking map. Or around the freaking mind. Oh, I like that. Teleporting. That is cool, because I thought it was only like teleporting between, like, you had to have one of those little totem things. So is it like a totem that works all the time? Or that would be very cool. Oh, games can be an amazing way for people to distract themselves. One thing in healthcare, what is quite interesting too, is the rules and laws that hospitals have to follow. Like when your granddad was at deathbed because of lung cancer, his lungs just filled, right, I believe living in agony. Still, euthanasia was not possibility. So my dad and her siblings had a long fight at the hospital about that. They wanted to put him down for mercy, but it ended the nurse not letting even his kids go to meet him. That is so sad. I am so sorry, Osteria. It really is. But in the end, one kind doctor might have forgotten a few morphine shots beside his bed, so he died to OD of morphine by his own hand. Wow. That is, every blessing to your family. And, and I'm so sorry that a very hard situation was made that much harder. And so I'm glad that there was kindness, with somebody. I've been diamond painting and listening to music, trying to distract myself today. Well, that is a cool thing. You should stream it, sweetie. Because then it also gives you a chance to talk about it. And sometimes we can work through stuff just by getting it outside of our heads. Because while things are rolling around up here, banging into the walls, it's very hard to be able to find balance with it. It's hard to be able to kind of get our heads wrapped around it if it stays in our head. By being able to talk about stuff, by being able to get things out, it makes it so much easier to be able to get a look at it. And especially if there's somebody that we can talk to, or even if we're just talking to ourselves. But getting the words outside of our head, then we can start to put them into some sort of perspective. If you need to talk to someone, I'm here for you. You can always call me. Oh, thank you, Papa. You are such a sweetheart. It is. There is so much that goes on that, we can just make ourselves crazy, having to go over and having to think about, and, and having somebody, sweet, just say, hey, give me a call, talk to me. I'll listen. I'll be there for you. And sometimes that can make the biggest difference between being able to move through something and getting stuck in it. Because as long as it's trapped in our own heads, as long as we're telling ourselves the same hard stories, it makes it really hard to be able to put it into a perspective, study it, really look at it honestly, and then process it. Absolutely. I can't stand people who put themselves in front of others. Yeah. There's always times when we have to find balance with, taking care of ourselves and being there for each other. Because sometimes, runny nose. Okay, I'll go back to lurking and mowing. Redeemed, highlight my message. Yep. So, the idea that sometimes we need to take care of ourselves, because in order to take care of others, we need to make sure we're okay, in order to be there for others. And sometimes when we're waiting, we're in that very frustrating waiting place, That's our time to take care of ourselves, to, to eat if we need to eat, to hydrate if we need to hydrate, to take a few breaths to calm ourselves, so that way, when our time comes that we do get a chance to act, that we can, bam, do it. And we're not overly tired, that we're not, we haven't exhausted ourselves. Because in most cases, it's when thinking can be a double-edged sword. When we think about what it is that is concerning us, often we create a story that's much bigger than the actual experience, because then all of the what ifs start coming into play. And it's like, wow, what if this, what if that? It's like, well, it hasn't happened yet, but we start creating that idea of, well, it could go really bad. It could do this, it could do that. And our experience becomes exactly that. It becomes as if it actually happened in our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. We physically respond to that. It's like, have you ever, or maybe it's just me, considered a discussion that you're going to have with somebody, and it's going to be a stressful discussion, and you can just picture all of the really foolish things that they're going to say to you, and that all the things that they're going to take offense at, and you start actually feeling that adrenaline rush. Your body feels exactly as if you're in that discussion and being tremendously frustrated and tremendously offended, and and all these assumptions are created. And then the discussion happens, and it's nowhere near what we created in our minds. So then it's like, oh, wow, this ended up not being what I worked myself up to think it was going to be, and yet we still have that physical reaction. So being able to, one, get our thoughts outside of our heads and say, okay, this is what's going on. This is what I know, and this is what I believe. And it's really important to be able to separate those two. What do you know? What are the objective facts? When doing medical treatments, we have things called SOAP notes, which is, the notes are first the subjective notes, then the objective notes, then the assessment, then the plan. And honestly, I think whatever we do, whatever we're doing in life, we can use SOAP notes. We can have that structure in our minds. If something comes up that you're having to deal with, it's like, okay, first, what is the feeling? What is the, because, and some would say it's like, no, go for objective, go for the facts first. And to me, the first thing we need to deal with is addressing what we're feeling in that moment. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling helpless. Because by identifying what it is that is our feeling part, we can be able to start separating it from the second piece, which is, okay, what do I know? Because then when we go by what we know, it's like, well, I know that, this person I love very much is in the hospital. I know that they have a condition that is yet to be determined. I know that, that the nature of what it is that they've been going through. And then we start picking apart the stuff from the feeling. It's like, okay, what about what I know? What is it about what I know that gives me these feelings? What is it that I believe that gives me these feelings? And most of the time, it's what we believe that creates the feelings. It's not so much, and yes, once you get like bad news or whatever, okay, that can have an effect. But usually the first thing we react to before we get information is what we're feeling and the belief that is supporting those feelings. Now, then assessment. After you have subjective and objective, you go to assessment. You go, okay, I know what I'm feeling and I know what I know. So based on those two, what actually am I dealing with in this moment? What is it that I'm dealing with? And, what is the big picture on this? And am I missing more information? Am I missing, something else? And then plan. That's where you decide, it's like, okay, based on what I know, based on what I'm feeling, first I need to deal with my feelings and calm myself down. Then I'm going to make sure that I am able to regularly get the information that I need. So, subjective, objective assessment plan. That has applied, or I've been able to apply that to so many things other than patient notes, because everything has that piece, and everything has those emotional pieces, the pieces that are based on our belief, and the pieces that are the actual reality of the situation. It's sort of like, in when dealing with a patient, subjective is what they tell me. Subjective is their explanation of what they're going through and the symptoms and what they're experiencing. Objective is things like, okay, what is their temperature at this moment? Are there signs of, like any type of physical swelling? Where are the points that that I can see that, something is off as I palpate? What am I feeling as I palpate a particular muscle group? And, that's objective. Then I take both of those. I do not create an assessment based just on what I perceive. And I don't create an assessment on what that person is expressing. It has to be both. So when when we're trying to figure stuff out, we have to include what's going on with us emotionally. We have to include, the stories we're telling ourselves. We have to include all of the fear that we're experiencing, as well as what do I know that is a concrete fact. And when we blend those together and kind of look at them side by side, see where it overlaps, then it's like, okay, this is what I believe this situation is based on the information I have right now. And then we create a plan. Now that plan doesn't have to be for, an ultimate resolution. It could be, when we're trying to solve a problem, it's like, okay, my plan to do right now is I'm going to stop, I'm going to take a breath, I'm going to go play a video game for about, an hour. I'm going to focus on calming myself down. I'm going to focus on what I'm, my breathing. So, that could be like the first plan is to deal with, okay, how can I bring myself to a point where I can, really think this through? Or who do I need to talk to help me think this through? Then there's a plan for dealing with the problem and dealing with the issue that you want to see resolved. It may be that you need help with it. It may be that you need, to get more information. Maybe the plan is, I need to research this more. So these are the specific things that I'm going to research so that I can add to what I know for the assessment. And sometimes it is about research. Sometimes it is about, getting more information, or as I said, talking to somebody. So, this procedure, this process can be applied to anything. And really, it's very much about what's going on up here. Because when we've got all of the worst case scenarios that are floating around in our head, and then we start building on those worst case scenarios and actually imagine, okay, and I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to go through this, and it's going to be hard. We're actually like creating what it is that our bodies are going through, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm scared, I'm frustrated, I'm feeling really helpless. Dealing with that, taking a breath, taking a moment. If you are inclined to, pray in whatever way feels right for you. Talk to somebody. So that once you start bringing yourself down into a place where you can go, okay, I can kick in my left brain and I can say, all right, what are the facts? What are the things that I do know? What is the information that I'm lacking? And we can start getting into that more critical thinking place. And, we can think through an issue rather than living through the emotion and having our thoughts going to playing out, worst case scenarios that have not happened yet. Based on what's going on now, it's like, okay, what do I know now? And that's where thinking about it can really, really help us to hold back. I mean, what you feel is important. What you feel is significant. What you feel is, is vital to us in our humanity. And we have to acknowledge that. That's why subjective comes first. That's why the patient's experience comes first, and then the more clinical aspect. Because part of that person's response to whatever you're going to do with them has to do with what they're thinking, where their head is at. If I'm dealing with a patient who has already got the worst case scenario working in their brain, then it's like, okay, I'm going to be bringing in objective things. It's like, okay, when I do this, does this hurt? No. Okay, good. We can rule something out. What about this symptom? Do you have this effect when this happens? Well, no. Okay, good. We can rule something else out. And by introducing that part, often the patient's fear starts to go down when they see me being very, very clinical with them. Going, okay. And I will automatically go for the things that, like if somebody has, a particular mindset that, they've got one particular thing going on. It's like, okay, based on, medical knowledge and the information we have, this and this would be present if you had that. Do you have that? Oh, well, no. Okay, so we're going to move that other idea to the back burner because there's some other things that I think are a lot more likely. So, the idea of, and what it does is by following a process like this, it automatically allows us to kick in the left brain. It allows honoring of the experience and what that experience is doing on an emotional level or, on a personal level, then using that to move into objectivity. Because if we start off with objectivity, it means that, we're jumping past what is being felt. And for, whether it's a patient or whether it's us, what's being felt is the primary experience for that person. It's like going up to a child who's frightened and telling them not to be scared, that there's nothing for them to be scared of. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to resist it. Because in their mind, no, there is something to be scared of. So that's why, it's like when dealing with a child, it's like, wow, okay, I can see you're really, really scared. Can you tell me what you're scared of? And allowing them to talk about it, then by using that and saying, okay, well, you're scared there's a monster under your bed. Alrighty, so, I'm sorry that's so scary to you. And, how about we find out? How about if I do it and I look through it and, and I'm going to look in the closets and we're going to get a flashlight and we're going to do all this stuff and, tell me why you feel that there's a monster under the bed and, what are you experiencing, and really listen to them. Because once someone feels like someone's listening to them, they're more open to hearing, that maybe, their perspective wasn't the full story. So being able to take the time, to take the moment to honor whether it's somebody else or what we're feeling, go to the feeling first, and then use that to figure out, okay, what is it that we need to find out? What do we know? I mean, yes, you can tell a child, you know what, there is absolutely not a monster under your bed. I know that. But you haven't, you don't look, you just come in from the door and say, look, quit fussing. There's no thing under there. There's nothing in the dark that isn't there in the light. So just be quiet and go to sleep. Okay, that's going to be a kid who's going to be up all night. But by acknowledging what it is that someone's going through. Not trying to change it in any way, not trying to devalue it in any way, but just openly to listen to what somebody else is going through and say, all right, talk to me about it, and just hear them out. Because at that moment, you're dealing with their reality. You can introduce a different reality, but not until you have acknowledged and honored theirs. And, if you're going through a tough time, which, if you are, I'm so sorry. Do not let anyone just try to force their reality or any other reality on you. Make sure that they hear you. Make sure that they acknowledge you. You have the right to be heard. It doesn't mean that, you can't, once you get it out and there's a discussion, you always have an open mind. But don't let anybody shut you down or tell you that what you believe is invalid or whatever. Because if it's valid to you, it's valid. Which means that, we get locked in when we don't have a chance to discuss it, when we don't have a chance to explore it with someone. We get locked in, and that's all we can see. That's all we can experience. And anybody who is a threat to that, frankly, to me, it's disrespectful. So the idea that what you feel is valid, what you believe is valid, because what we believe is based on what we know and what our life experience was up to that point. So if you have a certain belief system, if you have a certain, life experience that says, no, when this happens, this is the result. Yeah, it's easy to get locked into that. And you can't force anyone out of that, and nobody should. To be able to gently introduce other possibilities in a respectful way, in a way that doesn't make someone feel as though their thoughts, their feelings are devalued. I mean, there's a lot of possibility to make somebody feel bad about themselves. But there are even more possibilities for someone to feel good about themselves. And when someone feels safe, when they feel heard, they can be able to hear other possibilities. They can be able to understand, well, maybe what I thought isn't what I thought. And I've known of people who have sworn they had physical conditions that they literally, it's like, no, I know for a fact that they don't have it. In some cases, it's like, a female who thinks she has something because she looked up the symptoms and it turns out it's something specific to males. Or, you've got somebody who has been Googling illnesses and swears that they have found, 18 different things that they have. And based on their history, based on what they're experiencing, it's like, okay, that is really not very likely. And if they believe it, then it needs to be addressed in a way that allows that person to embrace new possibilities. It's like, well, it could be that. I mean, if it's as opposed to like, no, my dear, you do not have prostate cancer because you don't have a prostate because you're female. And unless you're a hermaphrodite and was born with both sets, no, you cannot have that. But I still want to be gentle with that. But if somebody has a condition that, I Googled, turns out I'm going to die someday. Who knew? Oh, JJ. It's like, yep, the doctor says I only have maybe another 75 to 100 years. But, if somebody is convinced of that, telling them that they're ignorant is not going to be the way to resolve it. If you say, okay, and usually what I'd start off with is, well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you a few questions, and so we can take a look at it. Is that okay with you? And usually they'll just, well, yeah, I guess. And then what I will do is I will start asking them questions that kind of move around it, that it's like, okay, well, have you experienced this? Well, no. Have you experienced that? Okay. Have you experienced this? Yes. Okay. Well, let's, then that kind of turns my thinking into another direction. And then I show them, it's like, okay, pull up on my phone, which it's so great. You can pull up stuff on your phone now. It's like, okay, well, according to, this peer-reviewed, this research, the chances of that is not as likely as this other situation being there. And I find that when, you offer people another possibility, it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can look at that. And it's like, well, if this is a possibility, then why don't we try this, this, and this? Because that you might end up finding will help you. And if it does, that means that, we're on the right track. Is that okay? And having people say, oh, well, is that okay with you? Can we discuss this? Can I ask you these questions? The more that a person, I feel, the more that a person is asked their permission, the more empowered they feel. The more they feel like, oh, well, this person's not just going to tell me what their opinion is. They're actually asking if it's okay for me to give them an opinion. I'm sweaty as... Yep. But remember, hydrate, sweetie. Make sure, because it is so easy to end up with heat exhaustion because people don't notice that, one of the main things is that, people are sweating profusely and then all of a sudden they start sweating less. Well, that's a sign that there's like heat exhaustion. So when you're losing, I have a glass of water. Good job. Make sure that, you're amping up. Like, they say it's like 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. Make sure that you add to that. Wear a hat. Nurse Taz spitting straight truth. Make sure that, make sure you're wearing a hat. I was. See? Papa Merritt's got this. So, but yeah, sometimes when our thinking can either work for us or work against us. And it depends on how much we're leaning into what we're afraid will happen as opposed to finding out what actually can happen or what the truth is. Made me more sweaty. Was wearing a black and gray hat. Yep. So just hydrating, but being able to protect, especially like, the top of your head from, getting too much sun, that's a good thing. So, but make sure you take breaks depending on how big your yard is. So being able to break things down, subjective, objective, assessment, plan, finding a process. And if it's not that process, then you pick one that works for you. Maybe, I know for some people, whenever anything happens, whenever they feel stressed, they will literally stop and they'll do a particular breathing exercise. They'll do it several times and bring themselves down. It's like, okay, calm down. Some people, they will go and talk to someone in particular. And no black, light colors to reflect sun and not soak it in. Yep. So being able to find what it is that allows you to de-escalate, figure, okay, I'm at stress level 8 out of 10. So you don't think about how you get from 8 to 1. Just get from 8 to 7, or even 8 to 7.5 down to 7. What will bring you down just a little bit, enough to where you can start catching your breath, to where you can start engaging critical thinking. And honestly, it is, once you get used to it, it actually works really, really well. And, and it's something that we can help others with too. Because once you figure out about doing it, you can go, okay, if somebody is freaking out, if somebody is going through a very, big episode of something, you calm yourself, center yourself, ground yourself, and then it's like, okay, all right, you're very, very upset, and I want to hear you out. Can we take a breath for a second? You know, can I get you a glass of water? I'm going to hear everything you have to say. But, you know, for you to get that out, it'll be easier if you can just take a couple of breaths. And when you help somebody to be able to calm down, I used to do it with kids all the time. I was a preschool teacher. And there is nothing so intense as a preschooler who is having a major crisis about something in a moment because of something someone said or did, and they cannot, their brains are going so fast that their mouths cannot keep up with it. And so, you know, when the kids would come up to me, and of course, if there were two kids involved, they each wanted to get their stories out first, because it's like, but he, but she, and that, and it's like, okay, everybody just stop, take a breath now. And, you know, and I'd sit down, and, you know, and I'd crouch down so I was on eye level with them. And I said, I know you both have very important things to tell me. And I'm going to hear you both out. I'm not going to set an opinion. And I need you guys to calm down first. We're going to calm down. We're going to take a breath. And like, you know, and of course the other kids would be gathering. I said, in fact, everybody is going to take a moment and we're going to take a breath. I said, okay, who here knows anything about what went on? So usually the two kids would raise their hand and then a couple of other kids. And I said, okay, not what you heard, but what you saw and what you know. And then a couple of kids have their hands down. I said, okay, the rest of you, why don't you go ahead and go play? And those of you who know something about it, I will hear you out, but for the two that are involved, I want to talk to you privately first. And so we sit down and, you know, I say, okay, I'm going to hear you both. And I kept a coin in my pocket. I said, we're going to flip a coin to see who talks first. And I want you guys to go head or tails, or I'd have them to do paper, rock, scissors, because they had fun doing that. And so it was like, dick, dick, dick. It's like, okay, that's 2 out of 3. Dick, dick, dick. So it's like, okay, Joey won. All right, so Joey, you tell me your side. You know, Vanessa, I'm going to listen to you. I am going to hear everything you have to say, but we're going to let Joey talk first. Let's see, I can calm other people down when they're having panic anxieties, but it's hard for me to calm myself down. Figured out the tractor, the tray court. It's like, oh, you've got a tray court? Whatever that is. You're gonna make me Google things again. So, and Sheila, that is a very, very common thing. It's sort of like, you know, physician, heal thyself. But, you know, because it's harder, we can see through the stories of others a lot easier than we can see through our own. And, you know, when we're having an issue, we're dealing with the stories. We're dealing with the, you know, that stuff that's going on, our own thoughts. But when you're dealing with somebody else, it's a lot easier to go, oh, okay, because I'm a step away from it. I'm a step outside of it. So just that amount of distance allows us to be able to create a space for someone else. It's hard when we're at ground zero. So, you know, I get it. I'm good at nurturing others, not so good at self-nurturing. Sweetie, that is common. Yes, I will check Discord in just a minute, sweetie. But, you know, it is, because it's easier to see the best in someone else and in ourselves, because we have expectations, we have our stories, we have, you know, what it is that, you know, those things that we don't tell anybody else, that we judge ourselves about. You know, there is definitely a piece of self-judgment in that. And that we'll know, you know, because I should be taking care of everybody else and I should come second. And that is kind of like a mindset that can really get people into trouble, because sometimes we need that too. And what I began picturing was, I would picture, you know, when I needed to self-nurture, I knew it was usually that child inside of me. And no matter how old you get, we all have a child inside of us. So what I do is I picture focusing on that child. I picture that child as the one who I want to make safe. So the grown-up in me is relating to the child in me, and I picture her, and I can see how upset she is, and so I deal with her, even though it's me. I deal with her almost as so I can take a step back, because consider that, can have more than 3 others in cough now. Yes! Can just build, however many cabins. Oh, okay. Oh, the cabins are fun. But being able to, take a step back and say, because it's not all of you that is afraid. It's not all of you that is angry. It's not all of you that is, that needs nurturing. It's just a part of you. And so by visualizing that one part of you, because, the part of you that is courageous. Oh, Artificer of Dusk! Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, and welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope that you're walking gently in the world, and the world is walking gently with you. And if it's not, then then this is your place and your space to just relax and take a breath. And for a follow, we have 2 spicy bean boozle beans. So, and Artificer, in case you didn't know, this is the summer of fun. This is also the summer of subs. And I decided I'm going to do some fun stuff. And June is Spicy Bean Boozle Bean Month. So for every 100 bits, I will take 1. For every follow, I take 2. And for every sub, I take 3. And these are Spicy Bean Boozle Beans, which are either... Okay, it's either Sriracha or it is Carolina Reaper, which is interesting. Okay, maybe 1 Sriracha and 1 Carolina Reaper. Carolina Reaper's the hottest. So yeah. Thank you for the follow. I'm so happy you're here, and thank you for joining in the fun. Let's do this. Okay, one's definitely Sriracha. Oh, the other's Carolina Reaper. Oh, man. Okay. And I assure you, I am not actually hurting myself, although it stings. I'm okay. Happily forfeit eating those if you want. Nope. Thank you. But I made a promise. And see, and honestly, I also like spice. But see, they amp it up a little bit here. Plus, we're doing an experiment. Because usually, I have heavy whipping cream. If you ever deal with spice, heavy whipping cream is amazing. It's better than milk. But I have some people who have like lactose intolerance. So it's like, okay, we're going to try an experiment. We're going to see how Lactaid works with it. Now, any milk product will help. Lactaid only helps a little bit. And I always, it's like, okay, I have to chew it up and swallow it. And it gets into the neck. It gets into the throat. Okay. Oh, having whipping cream. That immediately takes, like, where the Lactaid maybe takes, like, 25% of the edge off of it. Heavy whipping cream does, like, 50 to 60%. And that brings it down to a point where it's like, okay, this is manageable. Then she will go to the doctor for an ulcer. Nope. And it is all in good fun. And actually, after I have a few of them, I get this endorphin rush that's amazing. Has me kind of jumping all day. But, oh no, I like I said, I do enjoy spice. I do enjoy it. And, And because it's a jelly bean, it sticks in your teeth a little bit, and it's like, okay, so that's going to be there for a little bit. Whew. Anyway, Artificer of Dusk. Again, welcome. If you are a streamer, if you stream stuff, I know in general, the rule is that, no self-promotion. I totally support self-promotion. So if you are a streamer, please, let us know what you stream. Let us know when you stream. And, we definitely give shout outs, and I love to support other streams. And, and a lot of these amazing streamers who are in the chat today, they just do an awesome job. I appreciate the warm welcome very much. And no, I never stream. Oh, there's our Charlotte! Yay! Charlotte in the house. Hello. Oh my God, you guys. You need to click on that name. Charlotte is just, oh my God, is an absolute doll, is an absolute sweetheart, is an absolute, going and hanging out with her is like hanging out with a good buddy, and she is quite fierce when it comes to, to gaming, but she is absolutely just adorable. And I enjoy going to her streams, and she engages with the chat. I'm still at that place where it's like it's hard for me to focus on a game and focus on a chat at the same time. But, some folks make it look seamless, and Charlotte is one of those folks. How are you? Well, I'm only 5 beans in, so we're good. We were doing an experiment to see if Lactaid helps as much as heavy whipping cream when it comes to cutting heat. And I have personally determined that Lactaid will cut it about 25%, where whipping cream will go 50 to 60%. But if you can only do, if you're lactose intolerant, it's definitely better than nothing. And it is, let's see. They're running blood work and doing x-rays on her stomach. Yes. So for Sheila's sister, who is had to go to the ER, and Jason Z, we're definitely sending out good prayers and good thoughts for your mom, and for everybody who is going through something really weird. I'm still learning, to be honest. Oh, Papa, you do an amazing job with it. And also, Papa Merritt involves his dog Snoop, who is absolutely adorable. Oh my freaking gosh, I hate my brother. I lost my grandmother. Oh my God, last weekend. Oh, Charlotte, I am so sorry. Oh, sweetheart. Every blessing to you and your family. And whatever we can do to hold that space for you, to be there for you, please, please, please know that, we're all behind you. And, losing someone is just so hard. And so, I told my mom to get them to do a CT scan on her brain, but she keeps saying they don't think it's neurological because my sister isn't having an issue with her memory. Oh my God. Memory is not the only neurological issue. Oh, it makes my brain hurt. Okay. You had 3 funerals in 8 months? 2 times mom's and your grandmother. I feel like what's next? But I'm okay plodding on. You know what? You're strong. You are so strong. And it's okay at those times when we don't feel it. Just because you don't feel strong doesn't mean that you aren't. And having that much loss, I am just so sorry. And like I said, we're here for you. And whatever you need, whatever, much, much, much love, we're here. And whoever is going through stuff. Nose run. Another bonus of spice, it clears your sinuses. You know, if you want to talk, if you want to, you know, whatever, then please, you know, it's okay. You know, we're here, and there is so much love surrounding you right now. There is so much. I mean, even you know, people who don't know you, because the thing is that everybody watching this video after the fact is seeing this, and they're surrounding you with love too. So, you know, please know that whatever it is you're going through, we are going to make sure that you're never alone in it. And, you know, and that's what I put out to everybody. Whatever you're going through, know that you are never going to be alone. Know that there are people who care about you. There are people who want to be there for you. And even if it's just this little, you know, this little old boomer lady who lives on a mountain in the woods, you know, I'm here for you. You have the right to request and demand a test. Exactly. And Jay definitely want to get in on what's going on. I think 23 mods on. Dude, you are like the man when it comes to mods. You are the mod man. Jay Stunzy, the man, the myth, the modder. You know, and because it's, you know, it's about balance. It's about being able to realize that we are so many emotions all at once, and that every single one of them is valid, and that you are valid in everything that you feel. And, you know, and there's always possibilities. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves, if we're telling ourselves a story, we could always make it a good one. And as I say, life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. Because no matter how much fun it is, at some point it's going to suck. And no matter how much it sucks, at some point it's going to be fun again. And the trick is not to attach to either one being the reality for all time. Because everything shifts, everything changes. Everything evolves, everything, you know, we go through grief processes, we go through everything. Well, my mom and sister aren't going to demand the test, but hopefully they will do one anyways. Well, you know, and what they need to, you know, or what would be helpful is for one of them to say, I want to see this facility's patient bill of rights, because every facility, every medical facility has to have listed the patient bill of rights, which is you have the right to, you know, be fully informed prior to any procedure that goes on. You have the right to informed consent. You have, and there's all these rights, and they have to be able to produce that, because informed consent is the cornerstone. I don't care where you are or what you're doing. That is the overriding thing, is informed consent. And you have the right to, you know, have the procedures that are needed in order to diagnose you. So, you know, hopefully they would be able to do that, because they do have the right to see that. It's called the Patient Bill of Rights. And every facility should have it available for someone to examine. I said, man, doctors are dumb as shit, and they aren't going to do it when you won't ever know what's going on. I mean, you know, it's, and not all of them are. Some of them are just preoccupied. Some of them are trying to find what it is that, you know, that is going on, and maybe they're dealing with a whole bunch of different people. They're trying to find the fastest solution possible. And doctors who work for, like, big medical facilities, they have requirements on them. It's like, you will not spend more than this much time with a patient. And in some cases, they can get their income affected if they take too long with patients. So sometimes it isn't so much the doctor as those who are over the doctors. And yeah, sometimes some doctors are jerks, and you literally have to just, you know, break it down and get real straightforward with them, saying, it's like, look, I know what my rights are as a patient. And either you will comply with that, or we will take this to another level. So, the idea that, you have the right to certain things and they know it. They're just assuming that you don't know it and that you're, far too, overwhelmed by the white coat to be able to stay in your own authority and in your own power and know what it is that you need to do. Hospital politics, exactly, because you have some really great doctors who are under the thumb of the administration of the hospital. And even though they may want to do something different, they're being told no. And it shouldn't be politics. It shouldn't be that. But, as long as there are always, for all the people who are out there who are lousy, there's a lot of really great people out there too. And the trick is to find them. And sometimes somebody doesn't know they're great unless you notice it first. Somebody does not see the potential within themselves. Somebody does not have that realization and drive without somebody else pointing it out to them. So, we can have compassion and still be firm. So, be able to remember, if a doctor needs to remember that they are human and that, that their patients are human and that they need to remember their own humanity, sometimes we need to remember that they're human too. Because I have the feeling, and in my experience, once we acknowledge each other's humanity, it creates a connection. It creates a way for us to communicate. It doesn't become us versus them. It becomes, we have a problem that together we can solve. So, I had a fantastic doctor back in March. He was chill, and he let me and my parents know everything that was going on. Exactly. Like if you're being discharged and you feel they haven't fixed the issue yet, you have the right to refuse discharge. Exactly. See, it's always so wonderful to have Nurse Taz here who can really, be a part of that, every day. I'm a doctor, but I do private practice. Being a part of an actual, hospital situation, Nurse Taz is the person that we want to talk to. She is the queen. She is the queen bee of nurses. So, my friends, I have a patient. Speaking of patients, I have one that I'm going to have to drive down the mountain to see. You have the right to remain silent. Wait, no, that's something different. GJJ, and how often have you heard that phrase? See, I'm telling you, it's the jackalope. I'm trying to convince JJ the bunny that he should create an evil alter ego named the jackalope. I'm going to keep trying. And Papa Merritt with what's up, Doc? JJ the bunny, thankfully never. Well, I don't know. There may be some foolishness. See, if you come to TwitchCon, bring bail money, because this little old lady may end up getting into some trouble. So, as we're sitting side by side in a jail cell, me looking at you, wow, that I would have sworn that wasn't a cop. Yep. Drive safely, both the physical roads and the abstract ones. Well, thank you, Artificer, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for adding your voice and your smile. And I hope that everyone remembers to pay attention to what they're thinking. And if you have to tell yourself a story, tell yourself a good one. And to always remember that you are amazing, that you are stronger than you ever thought that you could be, that you're more resilient than you ever thought possible, that you're smarter than maybe even you give yourself credit for. And most of all, please remember that you are the only you in all of the universe, the only you that has ever been and the only you that will ever be. And what that does is it makes you special, it makes you sacred, and most of all, it makes you necessary. Because as the only you in all of the universe, The universe wouldn't be the same or complete without you. So, Papa Merritt's going to be live tomorrow night around 7. Tell us which time zone that'll be. I mean, we have to be specific. We've got folks from all over the world around here. So, we are going to do... you know what? We're going to raid... Let's raid Fancy is Fancy. And I'm going to have to... I hope you're live tomorrow night. Dead wouldn't be much fun. Oh, JJ, and the closing pun. He gets one in under the wire. Okay, so we're going to raid Fancy is Fancy, who is doing Dungeons and Dragons. And if I can spell it correctly, E-H-A-N-C-Y is F-A-N-C-Y. We're going to go raid Fancy is Fancy, and I'm going to have to, like, raid and run. But if you can come along, that would be awesome. And if you can't, if you have to get on to your own day, then thank you for joining us. And as I used to tell my kids when they went to school, have a good day, learn something new. I'm proud of you, and I love you. Alrighty. Let's go see what Fancy is Fancy is up to. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bye.
The first bite is always best. Is it crispy?
It's crispy.
Is it juicy?
It's juicy.
Is it tender?